After preparing all my ingredients ready for the couscous, I need to put boiling water, and it's 1.5 cups of boiling water onto a stock cube. It can be vegetable or chicken. I've chosen today to make it vegetable stock cube, because I know that this dish is going to be eaten by somebody later who's a flexitarian. I'll dissolve that in there, and then I'm going to pour this.
Sorry, what's a flexitarian?
A flexitarian is a person who sometimes will eat some meat products, but not all the time. Depends on how flexible they are on the day. I'm pouring this onto 1.5 cups of couscous, and just making sure that all the couscous has been moistened.
So it's not really pasta. What is couscous?
Couscous is actually made from semolina.
What's semolina?
And semolina comes from the milling of wheat. So when wheat is milled, first of all, it's dampened overnight to soften the outer layer and the bran layer on the outside of the grain of wheat. And then the next day it is milled, and they put it through break rollers to separate the endosperm in the center of the wheat grain away from the bran and the germ. And so the process continues to turn the inside of the grain of wheat into flour. Along the way, it goes through different types of rollers. There are brake rollers and plain rollers, and there's lots of sifting at different stages along the way, and different products come away from the milling of wheat, such as semolina, pollard, which you feed animals, and other parts. And so the semolina is the coarser grain, the coarser wheat, or before you get flour, the fine flour, and it's used in cooking. Semolina is used to make in making of pasta as well. And so what traditionally the women in Africa will get this semolina flour, and they'll dampen it and they'll roll it in little balls to use in their cooking. Might be a little bit coarser than what we're using today, but the semolina that we buy in the shops, this is wholemeal semolina I'm using today, so it's more nutritious, but it's quite fine. It's still little balls, and so you can see this is the brown version of it. So we're using the more nutritious version of the couscous today.
Does that mean it takes longer to cook, like some, say brown rice and the like? Or?
It might take an extra few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The recipe says to steep it for 10 minutes, but we might leave it for 15 just to ensure that it has fully steeped, ready to eat, so we don't have any crunchy, chewy bits when the dish is being eaten. So we've already prepared, ready for later. The spring onions have been chopped up. We have the orange has been segmented, drained off the chickpeas. We're putting 1 cup of chickpeas in this dish, and there's protein from the chickpeas. And we're also using currants. Currants come from a small grape. There are different types of grapes. There's a currant grape, and these are a dried fruit. Dried fruits feature a lot in African cooking in that area. Dried fruits are, if you have dried fruits, you're considered to be quite wealthy. And that was going right back to biblical times. If you had dried fruit, you were doing very, very well.
I understand even if mince pies, which we now know as fruit pies, it used to be meat mince with a very small amount of dried fruit because of the expense.
The expense, so very, very expensive.
And just noting as well, there is a skills session on segmenting the orange you should watch before you go through here. That's how you got these beautiful orange slices. So these ones. You should go off and